some dreams in our eyes. The crowds roar like a storm on the wind. We're the underdogs fighting again.
Hey, what's going on, guys? And welcome to another edition of Stateside Footy, Yanks Abroad. And god damn it, what a weekend it was for our U.S. men's national team player pool across the pond in Europe. Before we get into it, man, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button because we are approaching 300 subs. And of course, for a channel that really hasn't been around for just, close to a year now, it's absolutely not bad. But of course, we are on a race to 1,000 and, obviously the subs that do come in obviously helps the algorithm, the likes as well too, and all that good noise. I'm not exactly sure how the actual algorithm works, me just being kind of a soccer head. But that being said, apparently the more likes, the better. So go ahead and smash the like and subscribe button and let the algorithm do what the algorithm does. All right. So last week, it was a actual across the board as far as consistency when it came to results and when it came to GA. Last week was certainly better than this week, especially in the striker pool. This week, we did have some outstanding performances. I'm not going to lie about that, but it wasn't as consistent as we saw last week. And of course, that's going to happen, right? This is football. Every single week, you're not just going to rip it up. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, but the most important thing is form. And of course, if we have players that are in form, obviously those results are going to come. So let's go ahead and we'll start off again with the strikers. And we'll start off with Ricardo Pepi. And of course, if you remember last week with Ricardo, he was absolutely brilliant. So much so that actually it was September 13th against NEC Nijmegen, where he actually bagged a brace in 65 minutes. On midweek against Union Saint Gilloise, they lost 3-1, and he didn't exactly have the greatest performances. So this week there was an opportunity against the Eredivisie's best, Ajax. And of course, Ajax is an absolutely brilliant team. But unfortunately, Ricardo Pepi just did not bring the goods. He had a full 90. Managed only one shot, only created one chance on his own. 19 touches, 3 in the opposition box. He was 10 of 11 of accurate passing, and that was pretty much it. And again, Ricardo Pepi, as this continues to go along, right? He is their starting 9. There's no doubt about that. And the more that he's going to continue to get those minutes, the more that the results are going to come. But that being said, you would like to see Ricardo come alive in these type of matches. It's one thing to do it against NEC Nijmegen, which is not exactly the greatest team in the Eredivisie, but against some of the top heavies, in this Eredivisie, whether it be Sparta Rotterdam, whether it be Ajax, whether it be Feyenoord. You would like to see Ricardo Pepi step up. And as far as our rating goes, I had him at about a 6.5, which is average to say the least. And it's a little disappointing because, again, I thought this would be a very, very, very good opportunity for Ricardo against a very good opponent. But it is what it is. And again, man, as these things, continue to develop and as the weeks continue to progress, form will hit Ricardo and we will start seeing consistent results from him. Turning our attention now to Flo Balogun. He did not play today against Metz. But that being said, he did play midweek. He had 63 minutes in a 4-1 loss to Club Brugge and in the Champions League. And in that one, again, just like Ricardo Pepi, we're talking about form. And especially these two guys that were coming off significant injuries last season. Obviously Ballo had a full training camp with Monaco. He had that absolutely wonderful game against Japan in the last international window. So from that standpoint, you would like to see some carryover. It just hasn't necessarily happened as much as we would like. But again, same thing with Balogun. It's the same thing with Pepi. Obviously, they are the number 1 and number 2 in the striker pool. And again, as form goes, so will the results. It just is what it is. Let's turn our attention now to Josh Sargent, whose Norwich City lost 3-2 at home against Wrexham. Josh, of course, started the season on fire. There's no doubt that Josh is in form. Didn't have the greatest international window. What else is new? But that being said, considering that, Norwich City plays the style of football in which Josh will more than likely bang in goals, he was left scoreless in this one. He did play a full 90. He had 3 shots on goal, had 1 created chance. 35 touches, 3 in the opposition box, 11 of 17 of accurate passes, 3 passes into the final third. And that being said, that was pretty much it, as he didn't find the score sheet, didn't get an assist. I had him at about a 6.5 rating, which again, just like Ricardo Pepi, seems to be a little bit average. And again, man, especially when it comes to informed strikers, they're not going to hit the score sheet every single match like Josh did through the first 5 of the season. There are going to be peaks and valleys, but that being said, clearly Josh Sargent is probably going to be the best striker in the championship this year. And I can say that confidently. Now, whether or not that is going to translate to the national team, we hope. That would be the hope. But we will see. I would probably assume that in the next window, it's going to be interesting to see how many strikers Pochettino is going to carry. But that being said, the question is whether or not Josh is out of chances now with the national team versus the guy who we're going to talk about here, Haji Wright. His Coventry City, the Sky Blues, had a 0-0 draw against Leicester. He played 86 minutes in this one, only managed 1 shot, 21 touches, 3 in the opposition box, 6 of 8 accurate passes. There wasn't much to write home about this one. And again, there is a theme with these, with our striker pool. Wasn't a great week. I'll just be the first one to say it. It really wasn't. I had Haji at a 6.2 rating for this one, and there wasn't anything necessarily to write home about. I got to be honest with you. But that being said, Haji also, like Josh, is tied for the most goals in the championship. He has certainly come on strong now that Frank Lampard has moved him into the target 9 position, and he certainly hit the ground running with that. And again, just like Haji, just like Pepi, just like Ballo, man, form does come, and you will see him obviously assert himself more often than not. The question is Haji going to be a legit challenge to Josh's scoring prowess in the championship? So far, so good. But that being said, I think from the first month of the season, certainly Haji has earned the right to get called in with his play. The ability, especially if we're playing in a 3-4-2-1, certainly Haji will benefit from that, depending on how he's actually being deployed. If we're going on a four back system with two with the double pivot, and we're playing with three across the top, certainly he can also play out left as well too. I mean, he does have a couple different components in his locker that do make him useful, but certainly Haji, right up to this point, his play has warmed to the call into the national team. Turning to Damian Downs, because it looks like Damian actually had his first start for Southampton, which is actually nice to see. And this was something that I was wondering when this was going to happen, because he moves from the Bundesliga, gets the promotion, but he elects to go to the championship. And I said at the time that yes, it was a risk. But that being said, you also have to look at playing time and some of these other things that actually matter. And the question was whether or not Damian was going to get the accurate playing time, if he stayed with a newly promoted Bundesliga team versus going to a championship where he will definitely get playing time and he will be able to put himself in a position to take that starting position. Now, once you get these opportunities, you have to make the most of it. And by the way, Southampton lost 3-1 to Hull City. It's going to determine whether those starts are going to continue. And I thought by, at least by November, he was going to be their starting 9. And then from there, because Southampton is a team that's expected to go up the season, he would find himself in the Premier League next season. And I thought it was a risky move, but it's a move that I absolutely liked. I mean, the dude is betting on himself. Anyway, he had 62 minutes, managed 2 shots, had 11 touches, 2 in the opposition box, only 2 of 4 of accurate passes, and that was pretty much it. There is a theme with the strikers this week. Not exactly the greatest performances. I had him at a 6 rating, which again is about as average is going to get. But that being said, I liked seeing Damian get a start, and I certainly hope there's more to that to come. Let's talk about Patrick Agyemang, because he did find the pitch this weekend in a 1-0 loss to Preston North End. Agyemang had 45 minutes, so he played a full half, managed only 2 shots, only had 1 chance creation, 22 touches, 7 in the opposition box, 4 of 9 accurate passes, and he had 2 of 4. Let me just double check this real quick. Just give me 1 sec, guys. Yeah, he had. Where are you, Patrick Agyemang? Right there. Yeah, he had 2 of 4 successful dribbles. There it is. That's what I was looking for. So, I mean, at least there was something like that. One of the things that I think that Pat, as he's going to get into it, I would probably assume that number one, he's got to get into form. The only way you're going to be able to do that is get minutes, and he's certainly getting that. For a performance, for playing a full half where you only managed 2 shots on net, to walk away with a rating close to 7 shows that he was actually being useful. And when I look at that, it just means your ability to press and also be, just being active. And I think that is certainly nice for Pat. But that being said, he is going to be a guy, when he made that move, it's one thing to do it in Major League Soccer. And again, and I will say this to the cows come home, the discrepancy between attack and defenses in Major League Soccer is absolutely wide, just because of the DPs, and because Major League Soccer is a league that puts a premium on goal scoring. And you look at how teams build their defenses, which is usually from the youth ranks. It's not hard to score goals in Major League Soccer. And now you're going to a league that actually prioritizes defense as much as it, and it's going to be hard coming for him, and especially for a team like Derby County that's just not that great. But hopefully we'll start seeing him hit the back of the net sooner rather than later. But overall, by the way, I had him at a 6.7 this week. But overall, whether it was Ricardo Pepi, whether it was Josh Sargent, Hajni Wright, Damian Downs, or Patrick Ajimang, it was not a great week, a great weekend for the striker pool. Not even seeing a goal from, any of these six. It's kind of disconcerting, but that being said, it is what it is, man. And again, man, these things are going to ebb and flow as the season progresses. Let's move our attention to wingers because we do have to talk about Christian Pulisic, and I do want to bring this up real quick. The thing with Christian, and when you look at this, actually, let's do this. That's what I wanted to see, not that. That's what I wanted to see. All right. So with Christian, and this is coming from AC Milan data on Twitter. And this is via Optapaulo. And it says Christian Pulisic has became the first player to score at least 25 goals and provide 15 assists in the last 3 Serie A seasons. 25 goals, 17 assists, right? So obviously the move to the Serie A has been beneficial to the point where he's absolutely playing as a top 20 forward in Europe right now. I said that on Twitter. Get at me real quick on X at Stateside Footy, and of course on TikTok at Stateside Footy, as I did mention something about Christian just a few moments ago, and that's available. Christian again had a very good weekend. Let's just keep it honest. I think in the prior match, I think he only came on for 20 some odd minutes and completely changed the trajectory of that game. Didn't necessarily get on the score sheet, but this one he absolutely did. And because we actually have to have some context here when we're talking about Christian. So he played 63 minutes in a 3-0 clean sheet win against Udinese. 2 goals and assists. Brilliant. 3 shots. 1 chance created. 46 touches, 8 in the opposition box, 23 of 26 inaccurate passes. He was the man of the match with a 9.5 rating. Very well earned. Okay, but we have to have context here. We have to have context. Number 1, it was Udinese. Okay, Udinese is a team that's going to finish somewhere right in the middle of the pack. This is a team that had some key losses along their defensive, in their defense. So granted, they are exactly what they are. Now, I will say that these are the opponents that Christian Pulisic should have these type of matches. But that being said, you're not going to be measured on how well you absolutely curb stomp a team like Udinese. It's the Napolis, Romas, Juventuses, Inter Milans, right? I guess what I would consider the heavies of Serie A. Right, these are the guys that you're going toe to toe with for obviously the Serie A title. Trying to win the Scudetto and some of these things. And clearly, AC Milan is very much improved. And they're probably going to be in it. The question is whether or not Christian can actually put that side on his back and carry him to silverware. If we all think that he's that type of guy, then everything is going to be reflected on how he does against those top teams in Serie A. Now, I will say that he has done well against Inter, and but again, it's the big games, it's the big moments, and it's actually him being that guy for AC Milan, being the talisman for AC Milan, and being the guy that his teammates turn to when it comes to big time goals, right? So I'm not trying to take anything away from Christian. I love Christian, and of course, I'm wearing his number. The reality is, it's, for me at least, it's not just how well you dunk on, mid to lower table sides, lower to mid table sides. That's not what I consider at all. For me, it's about consistency throughout the entire table and, developing to be into that guy. So, because so far he's been a great player. I don't think we can argue about that, but has he literally been that guy? That's where he has to develop into now. That's what Christian's goal should be, is being the guy that every single one of his teammates turn to in big moments against big teams in the Serie A, and still being able to do what he did against Udinese. That's going to be the litmus test for Christian. But outside of that, man of the match. I don't want to take anything away from him, but there has to be context when it comes to Christian, and also consistency with the national team. All right, so let's turn to Team Uea. Olympique Marseille plays PSG tomorrow. So I will put something on my Twitter feed and then also my TikTok to find out how, and we'll get into that. But he did play 78 minutes against Real Madrid in the Champions League. And of course, he scored a big goal, had 32 touches, by the way, 3 in the opposition box, and had a nice little 7.5 rating against Real Madrid in a loss, by the way. I believe it was a 2-1 loss. But that being said, they will be back tomorrow against PSG, and so I'm curious to see exactly how that pans out. Let's go to Alex Zendejas. Just because he plays in Liga MX doesn't mean he doesn't play abroad, because he does. And of course, Club America had a 2-2 draw against Monterrey yesterday. He played a full 90. This time he was playing out on the right. The match before he was playing in the 10. He did managed to find an assist yesterday. Listen, man, Zendejas is playing well. I don't think anyone would argue about that. Not only has he started the season absolutely brilliantly for Club America, but he also managed to shine in that match against Japan. And I don't want to hear about Japan's B team, whatever, man. It's like that was not exactly the easiest cross to handle from Arston, and he managed to bury one in and just give the team a whole different type of momentum. But in this one, he did have an assist, 4 shots, 2 chances created, 69 touches, 3 in the opposition box, 44 of 47 inaccurate passes, 2 of 2 of accurate long balls, and he was absolutely superb, man. Absolutely superb. He nearly had an 8 rating, 7.8, and it's nice to see a little bit of our depth performing well, because that's really for me at least, that's something that I'm looking forward to as we get closer to the World Cup, because there are certain possessions that just have dog shit depth. And as long as we have a dude like Alex Zendejas who can come in and play a role and do that job well, I think that's going to put a lot of people at ease. And so again, man, Alex Zendejas again continuing to produce, and he's quietly becoming something that I continue to pay attention to. Cole Campbell did not play against Wolfsburg, and unfortunately, he hasn't featured since September 13 against Heidenheim. Taylor Booth did feature in a 5-1 win against Sparta Rotterdam. Did only play 6 minutes. And of course, 1 shot, 10 touches, 2 in the opposition box, 8 of 8 of accurate passes. And it's nice to see Taylor getting back out there. Of course, he's on loan with FC Twente. What I will say is that, we're also talking about a young player that has had his struggles with injuries. And for Taylor, just getting back on the pitch, just so you can put yourself in a position to get back into form. Now, I don't know if this is going to lead to a call-in. I think it's far too early. But what I will say is that if he can finish the season strong and potentially get into that 10-goal range, I don't think it's going to help him when it comes with this cycle. But what it's going to do is put him on the radar for the 2030 cycle. And of course, you're probably going to see him get called in to national team camps post 2026. I would probably assume a new manager is going to be in charge. And that at that point, the evaluation starts about whether or not he can actually do a job for the national team at a World Cup. But that being said, baby steps first. And it's nice to see Taylor Booth back out there. I did want to talk a little bit about Griffin Yao. In Westerlo's 2-0 loss to Standard Liège. He did play 45 minutes. That's good to see Griffin get some minutes here. 2 shots on 1 chances created, 36 touches, 4 in the opposition box, 18 of 20 accurate passes. He did have 2 corners and found himself at a 6.5 rating. And listen, again, just like Taylor, man, Griffin has been, we really haven't talked a lot about Griffin since the 2024 Olympics when he was on that Olympic team. And of course, those are the U21s or the U23s, excuse me. But what I will say is that one of the things that Griffin has to do is the exact same thing that a Taylor Booth or a Kevin Paredes has to do. And number one, that is stay healthy. Unbelievably stay healthy and continue to, continue to challenge and continue to get minutes and continue to take advantage of those minutes as well too. I don't know, what Westerlo's situation is in the Belgian Pro League, but that being said, it's still the type of league where you can put yourself in the shop window if you play well. And so for me, that is the goal for Griffin Yao, is to, again, just like Taylor Booth, man, put yourself in a position where you're getting regular starts, take advantage of it, and put yourself in a position where maybe you can move to an Eredivisie or something like that, or maybe even a Ligue 1. I certainly think Griffin's got I think he's definitely got the talent, but, injuries so far have been plagued him. It just is what it is, man. Let's take a look at our 10s, because I think this was a pretty solid group for the week. We're going to start with Malik Tillman, who did have a goal in a 1-1 draw against Borussia Mönchengladbach. He played a full 90, had a goal on 2 shots, 73 touches, 3 in the opposition box, 47 to 51 backyard passes, 2 that were played into the final third. And for me, he had a 7.8 rating. And again, I think a lot of people got the impression that he was not necessarily on it today. I don't know. The way that I look at this one is Borussia Mönchengladbach had a defensive 11 out there. Gio, as a matter of fact, we're going to get into Gio in just a second because he was on the inverse of this one. Didn't even get a start actually after having what I would consider one of his better performances that he's had in a while. He didn't even break into the starting 11 for this one, as they opted for more of a, I guess you could say, a bunker type approach. And from that, from that standpoint, it wasn't just Malik that, I guess it's hard for me to say he didn't play well. I mean, he scored a goal. He's the reason why they got a result, right? But from the, standpoint of potentially breaking down defenses, yeah, I guess you couldn't say it was the greatest of performances. But that being said, man, still got on the score sheet, which is absolutely matter. Even in, this is what people need to understand. Good teams, even when not playing their best, if they can still figure out a way to get a result, that's the sign of a good team, especially with players that are on that team. It means you're fighting. It means that you're doing the things that are required, even if it means that you end up in a 1-1 draw. And Malik Tillman is certainly that right now. And here's the interesting thing. I still have him as a starter for this national team. Even with Timmy Weah playing well right now. Especially if we're going to be playing that 3-4-2-1 like we saw against Japan. If that is the case, I think that, you're playing with, essentially, 2 6s and 2 10s. And if Christian's occupying one, Malik Tillman is probably occupying the other one. And Timmy Weah is probably going to have to come off the bench in that scenario. But that being said, I understand that, Malik didn't necessarily, the optics didn't look great today, but still though, when you still score a goal, and even in the even in a match where it doesn't look like things are going your way, a sign of a good team is the ability to actually get a result, even in those circumstances. And Malik Tillman, certainly, in my point of view, was one of the reasons why they got a result. Gio Reyna. In the inverse, obviously, Gio was left out of the starting 11 in the 1-1 draw against Bayer Leverkusen. And I think this disappointed. I think this really disappointed a lot of USMNT fans, considering he was coming off a very strong performance in his last appearance. But that being said, going up against a team like Bayer Leverkusen that has firepower all around the pitch, they elected to go to a more defensive 11, which is understandable. I didn't have a problem with this at all. At the end of the day, you have to try to figure out a way to get a result, and that's how Borussia Mönchengladbach thought they were going to get a result. Sure enough, they did. Gio did make an appearance, though. He got on the pitch for the last 10 minutes, 7 touches, and it looks like 1 in the opposition box, 4 or 5 accurate passes, and then 1 of accurate crosses. And in 10 minutes, like, if you want me to attach a rating to this one, okay, 6. It's kind of hard. As far as I'm concerned, it's kind of hard to attach a rating to this just with 10 minutes of play. It's kind of hard to really get a feel. But that being said, it was nice to see that it's number one. It's nice to see Gio actually getting minutes. Even when he's not starting, he's still getting minutes. And for me, that is the first step to potentially position yourself for inclusion in the World Cup roster. Certainly, he is one of the U.S.'s best 15 players. I think just from a talent standpoint, that's obvious. But for Gio, getting over the things that plagued him at Dortmund, this is the first step. Let's talk about Brendan Aronson. Brendan and Leeds had a 3-1 win over Wolves in the Premier League. Now, of course, Brendan has been starting on the right-hand side of a front three. And to be honest with you, I don't really care where he's playing as long as he's playing. And it was an okay outing for him. He did play a full 90. He managed 1 shot on net, 46 touches, 23 of 25 accurate passes, 2 into the final third, 10 defensive contributions, which is what I like to see. And of course, we all know Brendan, man. That dude is an engine. He is a motor. That dude is a very good. He's very good in the press. But he's also, he's also got wheels, man. And I don't want to take anything away from him. He's playing for a team that most likely might go down, although Leeds have actually started getting some points. So credit. But that being said, man, Brendan's got to play. And it looks like he's kind of carved out a nice little niche for him at Leeds. And I would like to see some GA. I would like to see it. But that being said, it's like, again, just like Gio, he needs minutes. But that being said, it's hard to say that he's not one of the best 18 players for the USMNT. And I do think that he's going to find himself on the World Cup roster. I think he's a player that Poch can trust 100%. And he facilitates multiple positions. Now, the question is, does he play any of those positions well? Well, currently he's out on the wing right now, and it looks like he's actually gaining the trust in Leeds, which is why they continue to put him out there. Let's turn to our center mids. Weston McKennie did not play in a 1-1 draw against Hellas Verona, but he did play 60 minutes in a 4-4 draw against Dortmund, which he had a rating of 6.6. Didn't do a lot of much in that Champions League match against Dortmund, and I don't know if disappointed is the right word. I would have liked to see him play with Juventus, but again, man, new manager, new situation where again he's got to prove himself to the point where he comes back into the good graces, or we're actually going to see Weston on the pitch. And same thing with Gio. Weston needs minutes, but certainly. He is somebody that should be in camp for the USMNT. Let's talk about Yunus Musa in Atalanta's 3-0 win against Torino. He only featured for 3 minutes, where he had 3 touches. That's it. Not much else to write home about. But again, Yunus is stepping onto the pitch, but he needs to carve himself out a much larger role. And I guess that's going to come with trust, but it is what it is. Gianluca Busio, who is in Serie B for Venezia, they had a 2-1 loss against the Cessna, in which he did play the full 90. He did have a goal. I love seeing that. He had 1 goal on 1 shot, 63 touches, 4 in the opposition box, 40 of 46 accurate passes, 9 into the final third. And Gianluca gets a 7.2 rating, which is, well above average. And again, this is a player that not a lot of people are talking about because of the level in which he's playing at, which is Serie B. But that being said, he is the guy for Venezia. And he continues week after week. He continues to show his quality. And I guess the question is, will he be on the move in the January window? Certainly, if he has a phenomenal first half, there is going to be teams, whether that be in Serie A, whether that be in the Netherlands, potentially in France. Gianluca Busio, if he continues to have these type of performances week in and week out, is going to draw the interest of a team in a better league that will want his services. And that's my hope. Certainly he has been a good steward for Venezia, but it's, for me, I want to see Gianluca Busio play in a top flight somewhere that's going to showcase his talents, because I think that's the only way we're going to see Gianluca have an impact on the national team. But that being said, we saw it last year a little bit when Venezia played in Serie A as they gained promotion. They ended up dropping back down, but I actually thought he actually wasn't all that bad last season against some of the better competition. Let's turn our attention to the CDMs, because this is where we had some really good performances. Well, at least the top 2. Tyler Adams, as Bournemouth drew 0-0 against Newcastle, he played the full 90. Looks like he had 1 shot on target, 81 touches, 50 of 63 accurate passes, 7 into the final third, 12 defensive contributions, 5 interceptions, and it looks like he was 3 or 4 of aerial duels. And this is what I love about him, because in Bournemouth, all he does is put out fires. That is his job. And when you see him against some of the better teams in the Premier League, that dude just locks down and takes away shooting, passing lanes, takes away shooting angles. The dude eats space so well. I can't say enough about Tyler. And the interesting thing is, we saw the real Tyler Adams when we were playing 2 6s behind a back 3, where he was able to actually do the job that makes Tyler Tyler. Yesterday, I had him at an 8 rating. He was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. And every single week with Andini Iriola, he just continues to improve, and it's going to be a situation where Tyler's going to get a move to a better club. There's going to be a team out there that values Tyler for what his ability is and what his talent suggests that he could be in the Premier League. Turning to Tanner Tessman in a 1-0 win against Angers, he played the full 90 and he was the guy that scored. Managed 4 shots on target. Obviously netting 1, 78 touches, 4 in the opposition box, 51 of 59 accurate passes, 12 passes into the final third. God damn it, he was the man of the match, and with an 8.5 rating. And I love the evolution of Tanner Tessman. I can't say this enough. I have been on board with Tanner Tessman for about a year and a half now, when he was with Venezia, and when he got the move to Ligue 1, there was a little bit of a struggle that we can actually admit. But when you start seeing the progression of his game and the adaptation, all almost in the mold of a guy like Tyler Adams. And all of a sudden now you're starting to see those performances mixed in with goals. It's something absolutely beholden to watch. And again, just like a couple of the guys that we had mentioned, surely his inclusion in the national team should be. The interesting thing is, as we'll talk about Johnny, because he didn't play against Villarreal, and he's kind of nursing an ankle injury. This is an opportunity for Tanner to overtake Johnny in the CDM depth chart for the U.S. men's national team, as long as these performances continue, right? I love seeing the goals from CDMs, but that being said, you don't need to score goals for me to like you. You just have to be consistent, and we're starting to see that with Tanner Test. Speaking of Johnny, I just mentioned it. He didn't play against Villarreal. There is a little bit of an ankle injury that he's dealing with, a little bit of knock. He's not going to be back until October. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how that works out for him with Atletico. Aiden Morris and Middlesbrough had a 2-1 win over West Brom. He played the full 90. He had 20 touches, 59 of 64 backyard passes, 6 passes into the final third, 3 of 3 ground duels, and he had a 7 rating, which is solid. Certainly wasn't the last 5 matches for Aiden, but that being said, the dude's consistent, and his maturation and his evolution in the championship probably gets him a move after the 2025-2026 season. I would probably assume there are going to be suitors for Aiden Morris, and it's well deserved, because now all of a sudden he's one of the leaders on that Middlesbrough team. Dude, his game is very noticeable when you watch that team play. He stands out. Let's see. James Sands, who's on loan with St. Pauli, they lost 2-0 to Stuttgart. He did play a full 90, had 50 touches, 29 of 38 accurate passes, 3 into the final third, 4 of 12 ground duels, and it just was not that good of a match for Sands. As a matter of fact, he lost 12 straight duels, which I think is actually a record for that league. Didn't have a great rating, 5.8, which was below average. And again, James is these are the type of performances that you're going to see. He's moving up a very big step because he wanted to test himself. I like it, and I'm glad that he got his loan move. The issue with me is whether or not this potentially might have been a loan move too big. I don't know yet. Judge is still out, but when you look at his performances over the last 3 or 4, certainly they've been good. So I don't really want to go that far. Maybe this was just a one-off type of performance for Sands and St. Pauli. Center backs. Chris Richards, 2-1 win over West Ham. And this dude is brilliant. 90 minutes, 52 touches, 26-30 accurate passes. 3 of those went into the opposition box, 17 defensive contributions, 4 of 4 ground duels, 3 of 4 in the air, an 8.1 rating. And this dude is now, we actually have to talk a little bit about Chris, because Chris Richards now went from last year where it looked like maybe consistency was going to be a problem. That shit cleaned itself up towards the end of last season, especially in that FA Cup run, where it looked like Chris kind of came into his own. And so far this year, every performance has been a solid one, even with the national team. It's to the point where he is, CB1 on that right-hand side. And in the back 3, he's going to be still CB1 for the U.S. men's national team. And of course, these performances are consistent now. Like, Chris has been awesome for Crystal Palace this year. Yesterday, he had an 8.1 rating. And you look at the way Oliver Glasner used him, was the way that Pochettino used him against Japan. And me personally, I just think it suits the national team. Most of our, with the exception of Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty, most of these guys play in a back 3, which obviously suits the national team far more than it does in a back 4. Mark McKenzie, Toulouse had a 1-0 loss to Auxerre. He did play a full 90, 84 touches, 65 of 74 accurate passes, 6 into the final third, but only 6 defensive contributions. Was not great in duels. I think he drew a yellow yesterday. 6.5 rating for McKenzie. And it looks like, well, first and foremost, Toulouse is not that great of a team. So there's always going to be work for Mark McKenzie. And, week to week, the performances are solid. Are they fantastic? Well, I guess that depends on the opponent, right? But that being said, the way that I look at Mark McKenzie, number one, yes, his inclusion should be with the national team. I think that's a no-brainer. But, the question of whether or not he's still raw and whether or not that scares off a guy like Mauricio Pochettino. But that being said, there's no excuse because for fuck's sake, they did bring in Tristan Blackman. Granted, he's 29. I understand the reason why they did it, but the question is whether or not that is the reason why McKenzie is not getting a run out with the national team. Cameron Carter-Vickers did play a full 90 today in the Scottish Cup against Patrick Thistle. Let's see if they actually have up the numbers now. Let's see. Let's find out. It doesn't look like it. Well, they did. Let's see. Yeah, no. So anyway, Celtic did beat Patrick Thistle 4-0 today in the Scottish Cup. But that being said, he's had solid ratings essentially for the 6 out of the last 7 weeks, and I would probably assume that today was the exact same. So it is what it is, right? There's not a lot to report. I would probably assume that he had the exact same performances he had last week as well too. Austin Trusty is injured, so he did not play as well today. And Nokai Banks did not play in a 4-1 loss. Osberg's 4-1 loss to Mines. So that is it for the center backs for this week. Obviously, Chris Richards, standout performer this week. Mark McKenzie was good, not great. And we didn't see there's not really much to talk about Cameron Carter-Vickers as far as numbers this week, but I'm sure next week we'll probably have those, and it is what it is. Turning to the left backs, Anthony Robinson did not play in Fulham's 1-0 victory over Leeds. And of course, he had the knee injury. He had the knee surgery earlier this year. And of course, there's still maybe there's some discomfort. There's still something going on where they're taking their sweet time to make sure that when Robinson does step on the pitch, he will be ready to go. The question is will he be ready for the October or the November window? I would probably say most likely for the November window, which gives an opportunity for the next guy on this list, which is John Tolkien. And John Tolkien's been brilliant, man. Last 3 or 4 appearances that he's made has been pretty good. The Holstein Kiel's 3-0 victory over Karlsholder. He had played 74 minutes, did have assists. He had 2 chances created, 44 touches, 2 in the opposition box, 22 of 25 accurate passes, 4 of 6 accurate long ball, took 3 corners, had a 7.5 rating. And this is the thing, right? When we're talking about wing backs, he already is one, which is something that Max Arfsten cannot say. From a defensive standpoint, he's a far and away better defender. And I think he's doing it in a better league. But also as an attacker, he's far and away better than Max Arfsten. But that being said, you wonder what the issue is and why Pochettino isn't necessarily giving Tolkien that run out that he probably should, right? I would be curious to see what Tolkien looks like in that 3-4-2-1 with the U.S. men's national team and whether or not that actually is a little bit more suitable than a defensive liability in Max Arfsten. I also, by the way, I think his corners, I think his crosses are far cleaner, far smoother than Arfsten's. But again, there's something to it. Christopher Lund, who's on loan, did not play in a 3-1 loss to Red Bull Leipzig. As we look at the right backs, Serginho Dest, of course, same team as Ricardo Pepi. 2-2 draw against Ajax. He did play 69 minutes, had 58 touches, 3 in the opposition box, 39 of 43 accurate passes. 6 of them were into the final third, 5 of 9 ground duels, and had a 6.9 rating. And so you're asking me, like, what is the issue? Well, he did have, he committed the foul, which led to a penalty for Ajax. And, these are the things that, discipline is something that, has to be accounted for here. But that being said, Serginho, again, he's still working his way back. But that being said, the more minutes he gets, the more sharper he's going to be. And of course, in the last window, he was absolutely brilliant. Joe Scally did play in the 1-1 draw to Leverkusen, Borussia Mönchengladbach, in a formation that was far more defensive. He played the full 90, had 3 shots on goal, 43 touches, 3 in the opposition box, 20 of 24 accurate passes, and had a 7.2 rating. And one of the things that I liked about this was he was getting forward. He was kind of doing the things that a lot of people think that he doesn't have the ability to possess. And God damn it, he showed it. That's, for me at least, that's actually encouraging, because Joe Scally is going to be the backup right back. And this has nothing to do with Anthony Freeman or Serginho Dest. It has everything to do with the fact that when you're in a World Cup, there are going to be moments where you're up 1-0 and you need to close it out and you want to be a little bit more defensive. Joe Scally's going to be your guy. There's also going to be times where it's 1-1 and you're just hanging on and you want to be a little bit more defensive. That's where Joe Scally makes this roster. And I don't think it is seriously, I don't think it's a stretch. Marlon Fossey, Standard Liège, had a 2-0 win over Westerlo. And he managed 45 minutes, 24 touches, 8 of 10 accurate passes, 8 defensive contributions, 1 of 3 of aerial duels, and had a 6.6 rating. I like Marlon Fossey, man. I've been big on Marlon Fossey. I think his movement is excellent. I think his ability on the ball and his defensive contributions literally fly under the radar, man. I really do. But that being said, again, playing in the Belgian Pro League, and I think that's the reason why he flies on the roster. But the good news is the same thing with Griffin Yao, is the same thing that where everybody plays in the Belgian Pro League. It is a league where you can put yourself in the shop window for a potential bigger move. And who knows, man? Who knows what the future has for a Fossey? But if he stays consistent, man, consistency is what gets you moved. Turning to our keepers, Ethan Horvath in Sheffield Wednesday's 2-0 victory over Portsmouth. He played the full 90, had 4 saves. 3 of those saves came from inside the box, 41 touches. Now, granted, he was 8 of 38 of accurate accurate passes, 7 of 32 on accurate long balls, but he kept a clean sheet. And again, I say this every single week when I talk about Sheffield Wednesday. That team, that entire club is in disarray, considering that they were in administration. They got a points deduction, and of course, they're on a transfer embargo, meaning that they can only sign frees. And their frees have to be approved by the EFL. And so that was how Ethan Horvath ended up there. And I'll tell you what, man, considering everything is absolutely swirling the relegation drain, he actually has put in some decent performances at Sheffield Wednesday to a point where, dare I say it, I kind of want to see him in the national team cap. I don't think it would be that bad to bring him in and have a look, right? You did it with Jonathan Klinsmann. You could do it with Ethan Horvath and just let Pochettino give him a once-over. Let the goalkeeping coaches get back with them, and who knows how that will work out. But that being said, man, kudos to Ethan Horvath for a clean sheet against a pretty solid Portsmouth team. Diego Cochin did not appear in the 3-0 win over Getafe. Gaga Slonina hasn't featured really all this season with Chelsea. Didn't get the loan move. Something is going to have to happen with Gaga. Whether that's a move back to Major League Soccer, who knows? But that being said, his career stalled out. Now, the good news is he's still young, right? He's still young enough where this isn't going to affect him, right? But certainly he needs stability. The first thing that any player needs is stability, and he doesn't have it with Chelsea. Certainly, if he looks back, he made the wrong move of going into the loan army. Certainly, that is the case, right? And so the situation is okay, fine. So he trains, he does everything right until January. Maybe he gets a loan move for the rest of the season. But after this one, he literally has to get out of Chelsea. And he has to go somewhere, whether that's in Europe somewhere where he can compete for the number one, whether that's Scotland, you name it. Go somewhere where whether you can challenge for the number one, be the number one, or even if it's a loan move back to Major League Soccer, just do something. Do something where you can actually get on the pitch and show everybody why you were at one point destined to be the next U.S. number one. And last but not least, Jonathan Klinsmann. As Cesena had a 2-1 win over Venezia. He played a full 90, did concede a goal, but he had two saves, 34 touches. 2 of those saves were diving saves. That's nice. 11 of 30 of accurate passes, 4 of 23 for accurate long balls, and a 7.2 rating. So that's certainly better than last week for Jonathan Klinsmann. But that being said, man, the way that I look at this is there were definitely some standout performers, a couple men of the match performances this week. But overall, I would say that there are a lot of disappointments than me coming on here and, talking shit about this player pool. But the way that I look at this is that, again, man, there's always going to be ebbs and flows. The things that I can appreciate is the fact that where we develop our best players are going to be in technical areas, right? The only guy in the striker pool, for instance, that really was MLS trained was probably Ricardo Pepi and Patrick Ajaman. But outside of that, it's something a little different, right? So like this week, our best area had to have been the CDMs. But again, we always develop good CDMs. So it's not a surprise that our most technical position is producing some of the better results on a week-to-week basis. But outside of that, man, here's what I will say is that from a production standpoint, outside of Christian, Tessman, and Tillman too, and Zendejas, it really kind of was a light week. But that being said, man, we'll be here next week and we will continue to talk about it. And hopefully we will see some better performances. But that being said, it is what it is. And I'm not necessarily concerned about it. These are going to happen throughout the course of a football season. What is nice is that we do have some guys playing in some pretty big games over there, playing for some pretty big teams. So that is encouraging. But again, it is what it is. Tomorrow we will be back as I welcome Filippo Silva from Tactical Manager TV to the program, as we are going to be talking a little bit about this U.S. men's national team. So I hope to see you there. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Hopefully the start of your work week is going to go clean for you guys. And I certainly wish you the best for this upcoming week. You guys take care and have a great day.
Rusted goalposts under fading sky.